Hey guys, welcome back. So today's video is going to be about the importance of stepping up. So this relates to positive distractions, which was a meetup I had scheduled this week, and that was about positive distractions, which is pretty self-explanatory. So could be hobbies or just things which can take our mind off of things when we need to focus on something else. But really the ultimate positive distraction I believe there is stepping up into a new level of growth or a new venture that can extend what we've already got going on, that can take us to another place. So this has got multiple advantages, and the stuff that I do put out, the content I do put out, I know it is very idealistic, but I make it like that for a reason, because it raises the bar to a certain level. If the bar is already at a place where we're comfortable at our level of growth or our current level of growth, there's not going to be any more growth that can be attained. So by having the bar a little bit higher, that means we've got something to aim for. It is idealistic, and in some senses it might seem impractical, but by having the bar high, if you're trying to reach up to the bar, you might fall a few times, but ultimately you're going to get closer to that level. So it's not about perfection, it's about progress. I always say that. So in the more progress, the greater level of perfection we can attain, even though we'll never reach perfection, obviously. So what is the next step? If you're making the moves and if you're going in a direction, when the next step appears, it will be when you're ready for it. So God will put the next step in front of you if you're not sure what this is. And some of these things we can't plan for. It happens in divine timing. So if you're on a certain path, it will happen when you're ready. So say you're in a house and you're in the first room, and you've got 4 rooms where you have to walk through a door to get to the next room. So you're in the first room, there's a room that's another 3 rooms away, but you can't get to the 4th room just from room 1. You have to walk through room 2 and room 3 and then room 4 after that. So sometimes to get to room 4, we have to know what's in rooms 2 and 3 first. So those things can't be skipped over. In other words, we have to aim high, but sometimes we can't attain that until we've learned the intermediate lessons. So we have to be in room 2 for a little bit, and God won't put the next step in until we've spent enough time in room 2. So room 3 won't appear until you have spent enough time in room 2 first. But we want to be in room 3 because room 3 is going to be better and room 4 is going to be better, but sometimes we just have to be patient before they can appear. But the desire is there to want to go there. So as long as we're always trying a little bit better and are aiming to a level that to that level that we want to attain, we will move in the direction, and it's inevitable that that's where we're going. So the next thing was, say we're taking this room analogy and we're in room 2, and sometimes we also have to take the steps to go to room 3. We have to take those action steps. Like God could give us something to get us to room 3, but we can choose whether we want to go into the room and open the door. We don't have to open the door. We can stay in room 2 if we want to. But those of us who are attaining a new level of growth, we are going to want to go to that room 3. So some of us believe, I think, that we have to stay in room 2 if there's problem. Like we might not feel ready to go to room 3, but the truth is that we're always ready to go to room 3. We don't have to stay in room 2 if we feel like there's problems there that need to be fixed, because ultimately, if you keep trying to fix a problem, you can't fix a problem with the same thinking that created the problem. That's what Einstein, one of Einstein's quotes, which I think is very true. So if you go into room 3 and you learn lessons that are at a higher level, you're going to be focused, and that's going to, you won't be sweating the small stuff if you're aiming for something bigger. So forgiveness is really just a releasing of vibrational resistance that we have. So by focusing on something bigger, that we won't be sweating the small stuff or whatever we were worried about in the past. That will dissipate. And by spending enough time in room 2, and by spending enough time in the previous room, we've learned the lessons that we've needed to learn to then be able to progress to room 3. So when we are in room 3, those things that were in room 2 are suddenly going to be clear, okay? So the things we were trying to resolve in room 2 are going to be clearer, because we're not going to be focused on fixing something. We're going to be moving on. So when we get to room 3, we're going to be focusing on a new problem. Once we get to room 3, it's going to be a new challenge, and those problems that we had in room 2, we're not going to be focused on as much anymore. So room 3 is going to be your next level of growth. So ultimately your focus is going to be there. So things that were in room 2, you spent enough time there to learn what you needed to learn there ultimately, but there might still be a little bit of confusion that remains. But when you are in room 3, those things in room 2 are going to be so much clearer, because you're not going to be focused on room 2 anymore, but by being in room 3. And so when you're not thinking about it, that's when you've got the mental clarity, and all of those things you were missing are just going to fall into place. So for example, the next step for me with what I'm doing now is I'm going to be doing some blog writing, and that is going to be in conjunction with what I'm doing with my videos. So all of those intermediate things that I was learning with making a video, like worrying about whether the quality was going to be good, or whether I could talk properly, all of those sorts of things, I had to do some videos first to get the hang of it and to learn. But once I start my blog writing, I'm going to be focusing more on the content, and more of, it's going to be a new level of growth for me, but I'm going to be pouring my heart out into my writing because I like to write. And so when I make a video from what I've written in the blog, I'm not going to be worried about all of those other things, or those superficial things about making a video that I was worried about before that. It's just, I'm going to be that focused on the content because of what I was writing, that the video is just going to be more natural. And those things I was worrying about before with making the video are just going to click into place by going up to the next level, or by going into room 3 and focusing on something more advanced. the step before is going to seem easy, and those things that I had to do it a little bit without the blog writing to learn how to do the video, and I had to learn those intermediate lessons. But then by moving up to something more advanced, those things I was missing before, those little minor things, are just going to fall into place. So stepping up is important, but I guess the question is where do you stop? I think growth is inevitable, and we don't know everything. We're always going to be growing in life, whether we realize it or not. But I guess the stopping point is when you're content, or where you get to a point where the growth is going to be easy and you're not thinking about it and it just happens automatically. So, for example, I could start writing with my blog and I could really be in tune with it and happy, and I'm not thinking about growing, I'm just thinking about what I'm writing, and then everything else just takes place naturally. So, and it won't be so conscious anymore about always having to grow. So I think that is the main message I wanted to get across with this video. I hope you got something out of it. Thank you for watching.